Hey everyone, welcome to my second art journal page. So there's a preview of the piece that I'm working on today. I've already gessoed my pages, so I'm ready to add some wet mediums to the page, and the gesso just helps it to be able to soak in the wet mediums and not cause a big hole through the page. So I've got an assortment of blues and aqua inks laying on my desk, and all I'm doing is adding some to a piece of plastic packaging, squirting it with water to dilute it down to help it to move, and I'm literally then just patting it on my page and rubbing my hand on it to help the ink to move around, not just to sit in one blob, and just having fun creating. So if you don't have lots of mixed media supplies and you do have inks in your stash, you can create a background just with your inks. So you can see there that I've got some Stampin' Up ink pads, I've got some Distress Stain ink pads, I think I pull in some little Prima Chalk ink pads as well. So any sort of ink works really well for this. All you've got to do, like you see, put it down on the page, on the bit of plastic, squirt some water, and off we go. So the colour isn't really true, well, I guess depending on where you're looking at it, but when I was looking at it in the preview, the colours weren't really true. So the colours looked much darker blue than they actually are, and there was a lot more aqua colour in there as well, but that sort of just looked dark blue. So hopefully towards the end when you see the stills, you might be able to get a truer visual image of what it actually looks like. So some people had asked what size this journal is. So this one here I got was one of the first journals that Diane Reevely bought out with Ranger, and she only had the one size. So this is the large journal, and I think it's about an 11-inch or 11.5-inch tall by 8 maybe, or 8.5, I think, something similar to that anyway. So it is a very, very big page to work on. So it's like working on bigger than a 12 by 12 piece. If you can think of what you normally see in my screen when I'm just doing a 12 by 12 layout, you can see that this is a big layout to be working on. It's almost like working on a double paged layout in your scrapbooking album. So anyway, so it's a big one. So sometimes it's hard to work on in a big space to be able to fill it up completely and not have it look so blank, but I really do enjoy working on this size. So I have added some different colors of ink, as you can see. I made sure that I dried my pages before each different color so that I wouldn't turn the colors into mud, which can happen when they are wet and mixed together. And all I'm doing now is going around the edges with a little sponge dauber and just putting some ink around. And the nice thing about doing that, the look that you get when you've had a gessoed page, is that I haven't gessoed completely to the top, so you get variations of colour with the ink. So some parts are dark and some parts are light. So I've got this stamp here now from Prima. It's one of their Bloom Girl collection stamps. So I had picked that up at the scrapbooking shop and really wanted to use that in my layout. So I have marked down where I'm going to put the stamp, and I'm just wanting to put a little bit of extra texture around the page. So I'm not building up with texture that you can feel, I'm building up with visual texture. So just adding various stamps to the page. So I've added 2 different stamps, a grid stamp and an arrow stamp, and now I'm just adding this sort of actually it was a text stamp, and now I'm adding this grid sort of stamp in a white ink to add a little bit more colour as well. And this is what I do to clean it off. I spray it with a little bit of water because the white ink just soaks right in, and I just use the other page to soak it up, because I know that that will just add a little bit of extra to the page that I'm going to work on next. So I've got this Bloom Girl stamp, and I'm using a Ranger archival ink so that I can add water to it without making it run everywhere. And I just made sure that I've inked the stamp up really well and pressed really hard. So I didn't put it on an acrylic block, I just used my hand and the backing that it was actually on. I didn't take it off the backing, and that worked perfectly fine for what I wanted to do. So now I'm deciding that I'm going to colour her in, because you know the stamp is a very fine lined image, so it's not very bold on the page, and I need to do something. So I've got an acrylic block there, I've got some ink, various inks, and all I'm doing is picking up some of that ink with a water brush. That is a plastic barrel filled with water, and it allows me to control how much water I want to add, and I'm just going in and adding some colour to my page, doing it that way. So in the end it's not vibrant enough for me, so I do go in and use my Neocolor II crayons as well to add a little bit more vibrancy to the page. But you know, this is just a build up of colour, laying it down and just seeing how I go. Sorry, my voice is a little bit going a little bit funny today, so excuse me for that. And just, I'm not sure what these colours of these flowers are actually meant to be, but you know, I don't care. If they're meant to be yellow, well, I'm making them pink and purple today. So the great thing about art journals is it's your art journal, and if you want to make pink flowers that should be yellow, go for it. You know, there is no critiquing, there is no, you know, someone going to come and tell you that that is not the flower colour. You just do what you like to do. Just, you know, you just colour the colours that you want to colour and go for it. And, you know, hair, you know, face shading, I'm not saying that I want to do this perfectly and shade it all perfectly fine. I'm just having fun. I'm having fun playing in my art journal. I'm having fun creating this person, and I'm just really enjoying it. Now this here, I've added some black ink. So what is this one? This one is the VersaFine Black Onyx, and it did not do the same. So that one's not going to work with a water brush. So you see me put it on and it doesn't actually do anything. So now I've pulled out my Neocolor II crayons, so they're wax water soluble crayons, and I'm just laying a foundation of colour down straight onto the page, and then bringing in my water brush and adding it to that, and it helps it to dissolve and has beautiful colour into it. So as you can see, I don't need very much crayon to be laid down for it to have a lot of colour into the page. So just continuing on with that, and I loved this stamp here of this girl. You know, as you know, you have seen photos of me, I have really curly hair, and all my life I've had people ask me what country I'm from, what is my heritage, and I tell them that my dad is from Holland, so he's a Dutchman, and my mum is an Aussie. So you know, people have always questioned whether my brothers and sisters are my brothers and sisters. So I have two brothers and one sister, and they are all very fair hair color and dead straight hair. So they are very blonde. When they were little, they had white hair, dead straight, and blue eyes, and here I am, and I've got this black curly hair and dark eyes. My skin is very pale, but you know, so somewhere in my gene pool there is, you know, something that has caused me to have this beautiful curly hair, which I have not always loved, have not always embraced, but you know, as I've gotten older, I've learned to just love it for what it is, and it is wild, woolly, crazy hair sometimes, but you know, at least I have hair. So that is something good to celebrate. So when I saw this stamp, I just thought, hey, that's me, and I really want to just have fun with this stamp and to create that. So you know, all pages aren't, you know, they don't have to be the same, and just use creativity how you want to use it. So if you get inspired by a stamp, you know, pull out your stamp and stamp on it. If you're inspired by a color, you know, use that as your jumping board to, you know, start a page with. Just use something and start. So, you know, I don't know where all the shading is meant to go. I'm just doing what I want to do and creating this girl how I want her to look. And, you know, I am happy with that. So just putting a little bit of colour down on her cheeks and just blending where I think needs to be blended. And adding colour where I think it needs to have a little bit of colour as well. And like I've said before, like these Neo colours are just gorgeous to work with. So I'm happy that she's got a good foundation of colour. I was going to add a little bit more colour to the background, but couldn't really see it, so I just left it as is. And I heat it up, well, dry it off I should say, and pull out another script stamp and just put a little bit more stamping onto the page and blend that onto her a little bit to help her just sort of, you know, blend in and not stand out too much. And just adding that to various other places on the layout as well. And then my battery died and I didn't realize, so I had gone ahead and stuck these letters down. Some of them need to be stuck down with my wet glue. So I am fearfully and wonderfully made, it says, and that is a scripture verse. So I was going to write down where it was from later on, but I didn't. And we jump ahead again because you didn't need to see me stick them all down. But I've stuck them down and I went around the edges with a black pen to help them stand out. And now I'm just using a sepia ink pad and putting some sepia colour around the edges of the page, and my layer is pretty much done. So I've added my signature ink splatters. For those who watch me do scrapbooking, you'll see that I love my ink splatters. So I've got my ink splatters and I am done. That is it. So it came together pretty quickly. There was no big, you know, hidden techniques. You know, you saw me do all the techniques pretty easy with what I have on hand. And yeah, so pull out your stuff, have a go, make a page, you know, just use what you've got and have fun while you're doing it. And I will see you next time. Bye.